The algorithms and the computation and the supposed intelligence, they leverage memory recall and probabilities and all this stuff. And it's all super cool, don't get me wrong. I love the technology, but that is not intelligence, that is not humanity, that doesn't represent creativity or consciousness. It's just brute force mathematics and data. So here's a thought experiment. If the brain could be removed from the body and kept alive, totally disconnected from the body, what function or what utility would the brain have? I can tell you what, it would have none, zero, it would do nothing. Because the brain, the whole brain, the usefulness of the brain comes from the fact that it takes data input from all of our bodies, both externally and internally, and it makes sense of that. And somehow magically in the brain, and no one knows why yet, all of that data input and that pattern recognition turns into consciousness and ultimately turns into intelligence and creativity. So the human brain, without all of this, makes zero sense. There is no humanity, there's no consciousness, there's no creativity, there's nothing. I'm not dismissing the brain. The brain's a pretty cool piece of human technology. But the point is, it's a pattern recognition engine for everything that we feed it through all of our senses. And by the way, there's more than 5 senses, about 27 at a minimum, both internally and externally to our bodies. It's very complicated. So what do the algorithms do? The algorithms pretend that they operate like the brain. But how could that possibly be the case? How could an algorithm be intelligent or supplant us or be more creative than us when the algorithms do not sense the world like the way we sense it? When the algorithms are modeled on the way the brain supposedly works, and yet a brain doesn't even come close to working that way. So I again have serious issues with the hyperbole and the hype and how some outlets and some people promote really bad understanding around this, all driven by hype, and some of it is marketing. We have to say that as well, right? So this is very important to understand. The reason I'm sharing all of this is because this informs our entire philosophy around how we develop technology. And when we talk about human-centric technology or humans at the center or humanizing technology, understanding what it is to be human first, as best as we possibly can today with modern science, is the starting point, and then you try and develop the technology in service of that, to augment that, to enhance that, not to replace it. Here's another thing that a lot of people don't know. Humans, across all the breadth of humanity, we have at least 9 different types of distinct intelligence, and we have at least 9 different types of creative thinking, or just thinking in general. A lot of people don't know that. Like I work with a lot of folks that are team leaders and executives, and I point this out to them, and they're shocked. And then I say to them, now think about your team, your direct reports. How many of these intelligence do you think are represented? They often kind of say 2 or 3. And then I point out, well, that's pretty typical. And by the way, think about all the value that you're leaving on the table because your teams aren't bringing together this collective type of human intelligence. This is a really big issue that we have in modern society and big organizations. Generally, I'll get to that a little bit later around the mission of the organization that I created within EY. But back to the point again, how can a machine or how can algorithms be creative when they don't have 9 distinct types of intelligence or different ways of thinking? You just feed them data, often bad data, crap data, meaningless data, and they just get trained on all this crap data, and then they give something out to the world, and it's like, bah, whatever, okay? So I'm not saying that to be dismissive of the technology. I love the technology. When it's built right, it can have a lot of value, but there's a lot of it that is just complete and utter junk. Now, what about human lived experience? Right, my intelligence, my creativity is the summation of all of my life's lived experiences, where I grew up, culturally, right? My family, my friends. I'm Irish, I moved to the States, I'm here 7 years, I live in New Jersey. I think differently than someone from Silicon Valley. The way I think about the world and the way I've experienced the world deeply informs my consciousness, my humanity, my intelligence, my creativity. The concept, like who talks about the concept of lived experience when we're talking about artificial intelligence? Very few people. How can the machines or the algorithms be intelligent or be creative when they don't have lived experience? They have no experience, they're just fed data. Data is just zeros and ones. I don't know about you, but I don't think in zeros and ones, right? So There's a lot of this stuff that I'd love to kind of demystify a lot of this a little bit and cut through the hype and really get to the areas where this technology can add a lot of value and create a lot of value for humanity.